bones found under a parking lot in the town of Leicester, 100 miles north of London, are those of the 15th century King Richard III, according to DNA tests. Now the big question is, where should he be buried? Well, Jenny Gross has been following this story. Jenny, first of all, how did they do this DNA testing?
Well, DNA specialists actually compared DNA from the bones of Richard with a living descendant of Richard. He was the 17th great-nephew, someone named Michael Ibsen, living in London, Canadian-born, and the test came out positive, so they confirmed that it was actually
It's an extraordinary story. I mean, King Richard III was actually only on the throne for 2 years, but he is this sort of an amazing character that everybody seems interested in.
Yeah, Nick, he's one of the most controversial kings in British history. Some people say he was an enlightened ruler who was responsible for promoting books and foreign trade and had very progressive views, whereas other people say that he is a murderous villain and was actually responsible for killing his two nephews.
Yeah, he did usurp their position. I mean, one of them was on the throne already as a little boy. He's usurped their position, then packed him and his brother off to the Tower of London, and for all we know, a few years later, they disappeared.
That's what some say, but the caveat is that that was all written by people in Tudor's time, which was his enemy, so it might not be true.
I mean, what is interesting, so how did he die? How did he end up under a parking lot, basically a parking lot in Leicester?
Richard was killed during the Wars of the Roses, which is a decades-long battle for power between the Yorkist house and the House of Lancaster. And Richard's death actually ended the Yorkist rule and started making the way for Tudor.
So basically he was defeated by Henry Tudor, and of course then we had the dynasties, Henry VIII, then of course Elizabeth I. So I mean, Richard's death was actually quite important in terms of British history.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's this big thing about where is he going to be buried? I mean, why is there an argument,
Well, I mean, Richard had a close relationship with the North, so people in York say that he should go back to York, and he, the year of his death had put in plans in motion to have a chapel built, a chantry built there, and so people say that that's where he actually wanted to be buried, but it's impossible to know. People in Leicester say that he's been there for more than 500 years. Keep him there. And
obviously it's possible that some people would argue maybe he should go to Westminster Abbey, or seeing that he was a former king, maybe he should be buried at the Queen's Chapel in Windsor. I mean, so there are arguments. But apparently even the Americans are getting involved in this too.
And there's a Richard III Society based in the U.S. with more than 800 members. Their official position is that he's buried in York. They think that it's dishonoring to him to place him where he didn't want to go.
Extraordinary. Well, just to remind everyone how important Richard III was. Even Shakespeare wrote a play about him. Laurence Olivier played him in film, and he's always famous for that line, "My horse, a horse, my kingdom for a horse."
Yeah, that's it.